All right, welcome to Elementor Chicago. Today we're going to go through exploring site settings. Maureen Roberts is going to be our presenter. We have an Elementor Slack channel if you'd like to join it. If you're not in it currently, it's kind of where we chat, ask questions. It's just sort of a message board type thing. So really, we're all here to just kind of network and work together, help each other out. And when we have challenges with Elementor or sharing cool plugins that we find, things like that. So join the group if you'd like. You can drop me a message in the chat and I can get you added. I'll also put a form out there pretty soon to show you that. All right. Actually have to grab Maureen, I have to grab your introduction. Where did you go? Sorry, hold on one second here. Don't see it. Okay, I'll work on this from memory. Maureen has been with the Elementor Chicago meetup since the beginning. So she's joined and she's now an organizer of the group with Peter and myself. So she's helping run the group. Thank you for that, Maureen. She's the owner of Signature Graphic Design. Been using WordPress since 2007. Is that right?
No, it's more like 2012 or 14.
Dang it, I thought 12 in my head. It was like 12 or 7. I don't know why. My memory failed me, but she's been using WordPress a long time. She's more focused on mainly design. She's a design expert and uses Elementor, has been using it for a few years to help her with her websites for her clients. Today, she's going to talk about exploring the site settings. So we're going to get a look into how you can really make your site a little more efficient with Elementor's global site settings and all that's out there. So please welcome Maureen. Maureen, I'll stop sharing and pass the baton to you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. That was a nice introduction. Let's see, get over here and share screen. Okay.
Might need to do it one more time.
Okay, let's make sure I got this going right. Okay. You all good? Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me tonight to explore Elementor site settings. Let me start by describing what the site settings are. They are an Elementor option that allows you to apply styling throughout your entire Elementor website. And the styling would be applied to color, fonts, forms, images, and let's see what else I have here, buttons. So there's a lot of elements that we will be working with tonight. So why should you use the Elementor site settings? Well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, it gives you a uniform design. You're going to have all of your pages are going to look the same. And this is really important, and I'll tell you a little story about this. A couple of years ago, and not that long ago, I was checking out a website, a big company, and it was looking pretty good. And I got to a page, and it was very clear that somebody different had built this page, and they did not follow the styling guidelines. And at first, when I saw this page, I thought I was actually out of the site. I didn't think I was still on the same site. But after I looked at it a little bit more and did a little reading, yes, I was. So just that little story hopefully will tell you the importance of having a consistent design throughout your website. Colors, fonts, layouts, etc. The other thing is production. With the site settings, you can upfront assign styling to those different elements And as you start working on your site going forward, pulling in, let's say, a header widget, the styling that you have configured in the settings will automatically apply. This will increase your efficiency. It will increase the speed of your build, and efficiency ends up on your bottom line. So it's production-wise, it's really important. And also there is a marketing aspect to this, because you do want to have that consistent design. And as you build your site, you want to keep in mind your client and the kind of look that they want for their business, and the kind of feel and mood. And all of this consistency throughout the website, it reinforces their brand identity. So these are 3 good reasons to use this Elementor site settings: design, production, marketing, brand identity. So one thing I want to mention before we start is, if you are considering doing it, let me suggest that you start setting up the site settings right away, even before you set up your first page. Because if you don't do that up front, and you're halfway through your website build, and then you're like, oh, I didn't do my website settings, you have to go back, set them up, but they're not going to be applied to all those elements you brought into your page. You're going to have to go back and apply them. So do this up front before you build your first page. Okay. All right. So where do we find the site setting panel? Now, here is it's an Elementor template that I pulled up, and just for something to start with. And to get to the site settings panel, what you're going to do is go to the upper left-hand corner of the widget panel, click on your hamburger menu, and over here is site settings. Okay, I'm going to click on this. So tonight, what I'm going to talk about are global colors, global fonts, typography. This is under your design system. Then we're going to talk about the theme style, typography, buttons, images, formed fields. I'm not going to talk about header and footer. Mostly that's kind of like, I consider that's like a separate issue, and they're a little different as you set them up, but you still need to be consistent there. And then we're just going to take a quick peek into some of the settings down below. All right, so let's start with global colors. All right, so right now we have 4 global colors. These are the default colors that you get when you visit the site settings. These are probably not anything that you want to use in your website, but we're going to change it up and add a few so that everything looks the way you want it to. So for the primary setting, I changed the title or the description, and I'm going to change this to, because I work with fonts and colors a lot. So I'm going to just change this to maybe an H2. This is what I want my H2 color to look like. And then I'm going to go over here to the color picker. I'm going to pick a color. Now, I like this color of this logo, so I'm going to choose something close to that. All right.
IMC.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to choose a color that's kind of close to that, and that's going to be my H2. I think I'm going to use the same color as my logo, as my H2, and I'm going to use it in different places in the website too. But this helps me. My secondary color, okay, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to change this description to H3. So what am I going to change this color to? Well, I kind of like this greenish blue color here. So what I used to do was make a screen print of that cactus and bring it into Photoshop and then get the hex number. But I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to come over here, and I'm not going to try and match it over here. That could be a little tough. I am going to use this color sampler eyedrop. And I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to bring it down to this image.
Oh,
no. Click on that image, and it gives me a whole palette of the colors in that image. I think that's really cool. And if you just hover over them, you'll see the hex numbers. But I kind of like this green. Maybe I'll go up here a little further. Okay, I'm going to pull this green. I'm just going to click on that hex number. And here it is, appearing in my global color. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, for my text, my body, my text, there's already a darker gray there, but I'm going to make this darker because I'm thinking about accessibility. I'm thinking, okay, that's a little light, and I want to make sure I have enough contrast for screen readers. So I'm going to change this to 333, make it darker. And then this is an accent color. Maybe I think I'll keep that accent color, or actually I would have just yeah, I'll keep that accent color. And I think I'm going to make it a blue. I don't really see any blues here that I could sample, so I'm just going to go in and pull out a blue. And I don't want it to look like that. Okay. So there are, as you are designing your website, and even as you design something for print, there are books available that will talk to you about the best use of colors and combinations of colors. I use them a lot. The templates that we get from Elementor are great layouts, but if you wanted to look into color a little bit more, you can get a book that talks about that. But I think we still have a pretty good palette here. So that will be my accent color. I think I want to add a new color, and I can do that by clicking on Add a New Color. And I'm going to call this H4. Now you could do it your own way. I also, in global colors, if I have a background color that's very light, I would put background color or column background, because sometimes I have a lot of colors that I'm working with. But for this exercise tonight, to show you how easy it is to work with typography and colors and style your fonts, I'm going to just work with the H2, H3, and H4. Okay, I think I'm going to, I kind of like that pink in the column. I'm going to use my color sampler eyedropper again. I'm going to come over to the column, click on it, and there it is. I'm going to click on that hex number, and it is appearing over here in my H as an H2 number. Now, as an H4 header color, but the truth is it's a little too light to use as a header. So I like that idea, but I'm going to make it a little bit darker. And I think that works better. However, I still like this as a background. I'm going to add, again, the color. I'm going to use my color sampler eyedropper. And here, I've got the color, and I'm going to change this to background. So I've got a couple of colors I'm working with, and I'm going to be working with these colors throughout the website. I'm going to keep them. Now, a couple of things you have to remember is after you make some changes on your settings palette, be sure to update. Okay. Now we're going to go back to the page editor here. And sometimes you actually have to update this too if you want to see it in on live on your front page. So just be aware of that. If you go back and forth and it's not taking, make sure you're saving. All right, how does this work? So first of all, I'm going to change this. This is an H1. I'm going to change it to an H2 for future as we go along. I don't like this color. I'm going to change this color. So I am already in the edit heading widget. I'm going to go to style. And I'll go, if you see there's this little globe here, well, that's your global colors, or they're calling it custom, your global colors that I have assigned. And I'm going to make this is an H2. I'm going to pick up my H2 color, just like that. This over here is an H2. I'm going to change this to an H3. And then I'm going to go to Style, Global Colors. And I'm going to pick up my H3 color that I have assigned to H3s. That's the color that I want to see there. And fonts are not the only thing that you can change with your global colors. Let's go down to the social icons. We're going to edit them. Again, we're going to go to the global or custom colors. And I'm going to pick up, I think, this pink. And it looks a little too light. Let's see what's happening here. This looks a little light. Oh, there we go. It changed up. So I changed up fonts, the text. I changed the social icons. And I think I might change this background of this section. Going back, you can see right now it's green. I'm going to pick up this blue. Okay, I'm going to save this too. So there's really any Elementor elements on your page you can change using your global colors. So when you get to a new page, you don't have to say, okay, what color was that? Or let me look at and this is what I used to do. I used to have a list of hex colors for the different headers or for the text. That was silly. This makes a lot more sense. So let's say that I'm not crazy about this orange color here, and I want to change it. I'm going to go back to my settings, my site settings, back to global colors, and I might make this say a little darker. And you can see how the color on that text is changing. And it's changing because I assigned a global color to it. So if I had my entire website built and all my H2 had that orange color and I was unhappy with it, I could go to the site settings, change the color, and that color would change on all the pages. And that would be, particularly if you have a large website, that's a big time saver. Are there any questions about global colors? Could the global colors be used outside of Elementor? I really don't think so, because it is an Elementor feature. So I'm not sure that you can do that. That's a good question, but I don't see how that can be done. Any other questions about global colors and how you would use them, or how you build your palette? Okay. Let's go back to, well, I do have a live site here. Let's see if this shows. Here you go. This is my live site, my live page, and it has taken the changes that I have made. All right. Let's go back here. Lost my page. No, here we go. Okay. Next, let's talk about global fonts. Sometimes when you're building a website, you're not always sure, what exact font to use. But if you know your client and you know what kind of appearance they want or what kind of company they are, you might get something that's a font, use a font that's a little more serious. Or if it's a kid's music site, you might want something a little more fun. So you might not know the exact site, but you're going to have a pretty good idea of what kind of font, what style. So how I do this to get me organized is primary. I'm going to call primary H2 again. Secondary, I'm going to make that H3. Text is my body text. Accent, I'm going to change that to H4. And I am going to add an accent font. And I'm going to make the fonts really different so you can see the changes as I go along. Okay, so for my H2, let's get something that you will know that I definitely have changed. Let's see. All right. Okay, so I'm calling this H2. I've got, and this is a regular styling palette that you will see on your pages as you go down, but we're going to do this in advance. So we're going to have the size a little bit larger, the weight, I'm going to make it a little larger, and word spacing, letter spacing. Okay, so we're going to do that. And we're going to go down to H3. I'm going to keep Roboto slab. Okay, text. I'm going to make it Arial. H4, I think I'll make that, let's see, something different so you know that you can see the difference. And for accent, again, something really different. Okay. Let's see here and here. A little bit low. All right. So I've gone back and I have assigned a font I have assigned fonts for my website. And for my own way of finding the fonts, I've named them. This is going to make it easier. So just for myself, I've named them like this. You can name them however you want. You might want to call something a paragraph header, or you might call something a footnote. But I'm doing this so you can see how it will all come together when we get to typography. Okay, so I'm going to update this. Remember to update. Now we're going back to the editor. Oh, here's something. There's a question. Can we use a global color for a global font so that, for example, any H2 will always be so-and-so font size and color? Yes, Peter, and we will get to that. And that's why I am describing the fonts and colors the way I am, so you can see how that will work. Yes, we can do that. Now, I'm going to go back to this H2. And the reason that it did not automatically change is because I have not assigned that global font to it. So I'm going to go to Style, down to Typography. What you normally would do is probably go in here, okay, and say, let me style this H2. But why should you? You've already got everything in here. This is the H2. That's the one I picked. And I picked an odd font so that you will see what I've done there. This is our H3, same thing. We're going to go to the header. So instead of going to this panel And for each and every header on your page, styling it, you're going to go to the global fonts and you're going to pick out your H3. And we had some text down here. Same thing, styling it. Actually, I want to change the color. Here's the color that I chose earlier. And it doesn't look that dark there. It should look darker. And here is my text. You see that a different font was picked up, and that looks better. Now I'm looking at this, I'm going to update it. And so let's say you've done this. This is your very first page and you're thinking, oh, this doesn't look so great. I don't really like all these fonts. Well, all you need to do is go back to your site settings, hamburger, menu, site settings, global fonts. Let's start with that H2. Okay, I kind of like it, but it's too big. I'm going to bring that down. And if you had applied that H2 global font to all the H2s on all the pages in your website, the size would have been reduced for all of them. Same thing with this, that H3, that's a little on the large size. Let's bring that down. You know what? I was a little unhappy with the text color. It looked a little too light. So I'm going to actually change the colors for my text. I'm going to make it darker. Okay, that's dark. And what else did we change? Okay. And remember again, update it. Go back to your editor and it might ask you to update again. And it did not this time. And that is how you configure your font settings and how you apply them to your pages. Now, again, remember, once you configure those settings, anything that you have going forward will pick those settings up. Anything that you have done previous to configuring your settings won't automatically update. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Are there any questions about the global fonts? Anybody have any question? Okay. All right, good. Now what we're going to do, we reviewed the design system, global colors, global fonts. You assign them wherever you want to just about any Elementor item, or element, I should say. Now we're going to go down to the theme style. And what Elementor has done is given you the ability to customize your theme's settings. Because sometimes your theme settings will conflict with Elementor settings. So what we're going to do is we are going to disable the Elementor settings and just use your theme settings, but we're going to customize them in here. So before we do that, we have to let Elementor know that we're disabling their settings, their default colors and their default fonts. The way you do that is to go over to Elementor, Settings, and over here, you see where it says just disable default colors, disable default fonts. You want these checked. And once you check these, we're disabling Elementor's colors and fonts, and you're going to use your theme's colors and fonts, but you're going to customize them. That makes sense to everybody. Do you want me to go over that again? We all good there? Okay, thumbs up from Mike. Okay, thank you, Mike. All right, so you see I've already done this. And then I am going to go back to my page and I'm going to click on typography. And Peter, this is where we're going to follow up on your question. So when you look here, this is so cool. This is really cool and it's going to save you so much time. We're going to decide for the body or the text, what color and what type of styling for the typography and the font. So we're going to start right here and I am going to go into these global colors that I have already set up. So I'm going to be able to zoom through this. So I've already set up these colors. Here's my text color. Yep, that's what I want. My typography for the body, I've already set that up. Here it is. That's what I want. You can go in here and make other changes if you want to. And whatever changes you make up or you decide or you configure, you're going to see on your pages. And even add a little paragraph spacing. Why not? I'll do that. Some of this might be a little exaggerated, but I want to make sure you all can see my changes. You can style your links here. So I'm going to go in and look at my colors. I think I'm going to use this blue, this accent blue for my links. Now, let me bring something to your attention if you did not see this. I'm going to redo this, undo it. So I'm looking at my navigation menu here. And all of those items are links. So if I go into the link settings and choose a color from my global colors that I've already picked and put into my palette, all of my navigation links will change colors. Now, I think links gets a little tricky and you should be able to go into your navigation template and change this up if you don't want it this color. You probably don't. The other thing is with typography, I'm going to use the text font that I've already assigned. And if I wanted to have an underline on my links, it will appear. Again, do you want underlines on all of your navigation links? No, you have to think about that. So some things you do have to consider. Let's say I want it italicized. So you see that up here. And that's live. Okay. Any question about the links? All righty, good. Here's my H1. Now I did not apply or I did not configure a color or a font for H1, but I'm going to go with the H2 anyway. The H2 color, and this is my page title here, which is an H1. And what kind of photography? Typography. I'm going to go with the H2. However, I think that's way too big. So for H1, I'm going to go into the panel and I'm going to make that a lot smaller. So any H1s I have anywhere on the site will look like this. All right, let's move on. H2, I've already got my H2 color assigned. My typography, I've got my H2 typography, which I already assigned here. And I'm happy with that. H3, let's see, H3, I've got that green, that's gonna be my color. Typography, H3, here you go. I already picked that up. I'll leave that as is. Let's see, I think I did an H4, I did. Here's my H4 color from my global colors. My global font, here's H4. 5 and 6, I'm not going to do. Any question on what I'm doing here with the typography and how I use the global colors and the global fonts to quickly set up my typography styling? Okay. I'm just reading the chat. Okay. All right. Remember to update. Back to editor. Let's see this in action. All right, so you've got your typography settings, you're moving right along, you're building a new page, and this is gonna be our page. So I'm gonna add a new H2, and you can see right away the H2 has the color and the font that I assigned it under typography. Exactly the same. Let's change this to an H3. There it is. Theirs is the H3 color and typography and font. Let's change it to an H4. This is a little light for an H4. I'm not happy with that. So let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to update this because I don't want to lose anything. Over to the hamburger menu, to the site settings, typography, going down to that H4. I am going to change this. It's way, okay. Now, what happened here is that, and this has happened a couple of times as I was going through this, that sometimes the color doesn't get picked up the way it should. If you were to refresh this, I bet it would work. But as soon as I went in and I changed this, the color changed. But if I went back to the original color and I refreshed, I bet it would come up darker. I don't want to confuse you by saying that, but sometimes it just, the settings they don't seem to take immediately. So just do a page reset or page refresh, and that should work for you. But you see what I did here? I didn't like that color, I changed it. You see what was also happening is that it's not picking up that H4 text. Let's see if I do a little refresh here. There you go. If you see this issue happening, refresh your page. Because I've seen that come up a few times and the refreshing seems to work. Okay, so we want to do some body text. Let's see. Here is just regular text. I'm going to bring down a new text. Here's a text widget. This is the text, the font that I assigned, the color I assigned. Let's say I'm not happy with that color. I'm going to head back over to the hamburger. I'm going to go down to typography, and I'm going to think, you know what? I don't really like that color so much. I'm going to change it to something like this. Update it. You saw that it changed in real time. And if you had multiple pages and you had your text applied to those, your typography applied to those pages, it would all change. You wouldn't have to go page by page to change that color. So this here is really, really cool, and it could save you a lot of time. And Peter, is this the question that you had? Okay, thanks. Yeah. So any questions? Anybody else have a question, or you want to see me do something again? Or you're wondering how it works? Everybody good here? All right. Okay. So let's see what else we're going to do here. Go back. We're going back to theme styles. This time we're going to work on buttons. And it's the same deal. What kind of typography? Well, we want to be consistent. So we're going to use something that we already have selected. We're going to use this H4. I'm going to use H4 for this. What the text color, I think in this case, I'm just going to use white because I'm going to pick a darker color. So, so I'm choosing white, but you know what I'd like to do? I would like to add this white to the global colors. So all I do is click on this little plus sign here. It says create new global color. You can see it's white, and I'm just going to call it white text. Because then that will help me to remember, okay, that's where I'm using that color. But trust me, I've had a lot of colors that I've used on some of my sites. But I might also say, don't run amok with all the colors. And be careful how many fonts you use. It's just a good design sense. Don't use too many fonts. And you don't want, if you use too many colors, your site might look like a bazaar, and you might not want that. Okay, Richard, when you disable default colors, does it disable element global colors? Do global colors work in conjunction with theme colors, or are they totally different? Okay, so when I changed those original global colors, which was like a cyan and gray, dark gray, and I think a green, those colors are, I just changed the color, but I did not change that default. I cannot delete those colors. If you try to delete those colors, you will get a message saying that you can't do it, because those 4 colors are part of the default. But I am changing the color itself, and I'm changing the name. There is a way, and I'm going to show you that at the end of this talk. If you want to go back and get the default colors and the default settings, you can. And I'm going to show you how to do that, Richard. The theme colors are associated now with the typography, and it will be associated with buttons and with frames. And yes, you are working with the theme colors, but we are customizing them. We've changed what the original theme colors, default theme colors are, to what I did over here in, say, typography. These were all the original default theme colors and fonts. Now you have customized them. That makes sense? It was a long answer. Does it make sense, Richard? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks. All right. All right. We're going to go down to buttons. And basically now we're doing the same thing. So we said what? We're going to stick with the same H4 typography. Remember, it's all about consistency. Maybe we'll try a drop shadow. I am not a fan of drop shadows. I think you have to be careful when you use them. The text color, I added the text color to the global colors. So if you go there, you can see now it's down here. Background type, I am going to make it, go to my custom colors. I'm going to make it dark. I'll use that green. I'm not going to make a border. Oh, I will, just to show you how it looks. I'll make a big border. And again, going back to my global colors, I'm going to pick this gold. And I'm going to update. Back to the editor. And I'm going to pick a button and pull it over here. There we go. Here is the button, and it's got all of the styling that I configured in the site settings panel.
If I may ask, why does the other button not have the styling?
Good question. because that button was in the template that I brought up, put into the page before I started configuring the site settings. The site
So if you
setting.
were to ask, if you were to add a brand new form right now, it would have the new fancy style?
Let's take a look. There it is. There's the new fancy style. Remember, after you configure your site settings, it applies to elements that you load in going forward. If you loaded in something before that, you're not going to see the styling. That's why I say go in and configure your settings before you start building. And this is really, this is pretty neat. The amount of time that it would save you. Time is money. Okay, so we did the form, we did the button. And I'm glad you brought that up again, Peter, because I want to make sure everyone knows that do this first, because you don't want to go back and just apply it to half your website pages. All right, let's see what else we have back here in site settings. We've done buttons. Actually, let's go to form fields, because you can change the form fields, the color, the background. Now, since we put this in, let's see if this changes in real time. Okay, let's see. Make that black. All right, it is changing. Okay, I'm going to use my gold color for the label. For the field, okay. As you can see, it is accepting the changes in real time because I'm putting this form in after or as I am setting up the styles. That's a little too large. I'm not going to do that. Let me go back, put text in there. Background color, let's see. Oh, picked up on the top, not the bottom. That's interesting. Form color picked up here, but did not pick up here. But these changes that, again, if you make any of the changes in here, let's do something here. And I'm going to make it for the form. I'm going to make this smaller. Okay. Same thing here. And my label is not wanting to work. Okay. I'm going to update. So I have styled the form fields. Going back to editor. And if I pull in a new form widget, let's see, it should look exactly the same. And it does. So I've styled the form, and any forms that I pull in going forward will look exactly the same. And if I'm not happy with this, I go back to the site settings panel and I make my changes there. Okay. Any other questions about, oh, here we go. We have a question here. Richard, yes. Oh, thank you, Steve. Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve. Let's talk about images. Again, you are able to go in and decide how you want your images to look. We're going to add a border. And I'm going to make it fairly large so you can all see it. And it is applying, even though this image came in before I started the settings, the styling is being applied to that. I can't explain why, but it is. Border radius, I'm going to leave. I'm going to do a box shadow there. See, be careful with your box shadows. It could look pretty clunky. And if for whatever reason you wanted to go in and blur your image, you can. So what I did here was add a border and a drop shadow. I'm going to make it an even larger border so you can see. All right. So this is how I'm styling my images. I'm going to update. Back to editor. All right. I'm going to update this too, just to be on the safe side. And let's bring in an image. Now, this particular image has this rounded top. Does anybody want to know how to do that? Everybody feel comfortable with that? Okay. So here's my image placeholder. You can see already I've got the blue frame around it and the drop shadow. So the styling is already there. All I have to do is go in and pick some nice image. Here we go. Female cardinal. And you will, throughout your site, all of your images will look like this because you style them on the site's settings panel. And I'm going to update this. Let's take a look at the live page. And it's exactly how we have it set up on the page editor.
I have a question about the images now.
Yep.
So we've set up our images in content. All our images are going to be styled as photography, border style, whatever it is, right? Though, if we look in the top left, our logo, which is an image, also ended up being this. So how do we make the images apply to all the content, but not inside of something such as our logo?
A very good question. And what I think has to be done is, let's try this. This happened to me earlier because I was changing the radius on some of the images. Let's see, now I'm in, let's see if the problem that I'm finding is if you've assigned some styling on the site settings that you may not be able to remove them from places that you don't want them. So again, I mean, your question is really good, Peter. So let's see what I can do here, because I think I did this, and as you can see, it says no border type. So what do you do? I have to tell you, I'm not sure I have the answer for this, because there's not. And then I went over to advanced. And I said, okay, is there a border here? No border type. So I guess there's like a disclaimer here that you have to be careful unless somebody else knows how to take care of this or how you would remove this. Let's see, let me try again.
What would happen if we set the border width to 0 on this particular image?
I think I've done that. Well, let's give it a shot. Let me give it a shot. You have to solid 0. Great, good.
Okay.
Now let's get rid of this. I got to get rid of this.
Try to set it to go open it up. Try to set it to 0 all around. Might work.
Yeah. There you go. Excellent. You know what? I'm glad that happened. We were able to sort this out, because it would be a shame not to use these settings and the styling throughout your site for something that's not working the way you want it to work. So that's good. That is really good. So let's just make sure it looks the same here. And there you go. Good catch, Peter. I'm going to keep you. I'm going to keep you on all of these meetups here. All right. Richard wanted to know about the rounded top. Let me show you how that's done. So we'll go back to, let me go back to site settings, images, border radius. So I am unlinking it so I can change just 2 of the corners, and I'm going to change the top here. Let's see, to 50. I think it might even be more. Could it be 100? And the left here. No, sorry, that's not what I want to do. Okay, bottom, wrong one. Okay, somebody help me out here. I've got them. I'm going to get the top.
Yeah, you want top for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want left, but it should be more because, let's see. Let's adjust this.
You can potentially use percentage instead of pixels because the pixels would be image dependent.
Okay.
Yeah, do them in percentage. Do like 50.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Top.
Right.
Top right. Do the right 50.
There we go. There you go. Thank you, guys. So, Richard, this is how it's done. You work with the border radius and you change the top and the right. And in this case, we used percentage, 50% for each, for the top and for the right. You could also flip it around if you so desire. Actually, this is how you can make a circle too. But if you wanted it to go like that, you can also. So some neat things that you could do there. All right, so we solved that problem with the logo. Thank you very much for that help. That's very worthwhile. Now, here's the other thing. Because I did this with the radius in the site settings, all the images would have this kind of container. So you have to decide if you want that or not. I'm thinking maybe not. So there we go. All right, any other questions about images and how to style them in the site settings panel? Okay, so we've gone over global colors and global fonts, typography, which I think is great, buttons, images, and form fields. I'm gonna, unless there are some other questions, I'm gonna just go in and we're gonna take a peek at some of the settings below. But does anybody have any questions about what we've talked about so far? No. All right. Okay, site identity. Down here, you could throw in your site favicon, which looks really simple and easy, and you update that. And I'm going to go over to my live site, and here is my favicon. So that it couldn't be any easier. Here you put in your logo, but the logo, you have to work with this because the logo ends up in funny places. So I'm not going to say any more about this, but this is someplace you could go in, and actually you could put your site name and your site description, but go in and check that out. Backgrounds are pretty cool. I've got it to work sometimes and sometimes I don't. I have been able to apply a full flooded color, but it's not working this time. It has in the past. I've also been able to get a gradient back there, but it doesn't work this time, but it has worked. What I have been able to do, however, is add an image. Let me pick this up. In the background, repeat, no, size, cover. So it covers the entire background. This is pretty good. I like this. If you want to have a solid background, a flood of color on all of your pages. As I said, I could not get this to work. I got it to work once.
You can't get the gradient to work right now.
Couldn't get it to work.
So if you click on the gradient to the right,
Yep.
and then click on color right there.
Yep. Pick another color.
Yeah, pick one.
Nope.
And we'll just pick one and then pick a second color.
Let me see if I need a location. Let me try. Okay, so why did this work now?
Because it was defaulting out.
It's if I use a global color.
Well, you can't use the header color because it renders the header invisible. So you have to pick another color.
But it should.
But if you make that your background, those texts that color won't be visible, right?
Yeah, but I couldn't even get that far. So it
Make
may
it
be,
different.
as I said earlier, you might have to refresh to get it working. And you saw it was a little slow. So
And then you see the mobile browser. You have a mobile browser background?
Yes.
Down there at the bottom.
Let me get back there. Yes.
You could make that be something different too.
Why is it not picking up?
What theme is this?
Well, let's see if I could get this to pick up a mobile color here.
You're using Hello. What theme are you using?
Yes, I'm using Hello. So it should work.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I've actually had that happen before too. Or sometimes certain things don't pick up the global colors or even fonts. I've had to kind of outsmart it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird because I use that and have done that, but
and it's not on every site. It's only sometimes. It's tough to pinpoint why. I think somebody probably has written it up, I'm sure, on GitHub, but
yeah, or somewhere, right?
I would definitely try it, everyone. Try it. It could be I just have a slow connection because then it's taking a little time.
But do it again. But do it again because you took it off. You turned it off. Try it again.
Let's go down to background. Color. All right. Well, no, let me get up here. And the idea is that you should be able to use your global colors because that's what you want throughout your site. And it's not picking it up.
But you don't want to use a global color that's the color of a font because if you use a global,
no, you wouldn't want to do that, but it should still pick it up. Well,
it might be a safeguard. It might be a safeguard because it would render that text invisible.
Okay, so then let's get in here and just pick this up. No, or pick this up. No.
We'll try it. Set it, and then update it down there at the bottom. Okay, and then if you want to, and then like refresh.
No, and let me look at my page. Let's see if anything came out on my live page. No, so this has happened.
Oh, purge the cache. Purge the cache.
Oh, where am I? Okay, let's see. That would be too easy, Steve.
Well, I mean, usually it's usually something like that has always been my downfall, you know.
Let me get back in here again.
It's unbelievable.
Background. That should be there.
Yeah, and so what happens if you do the gradient?
Same. I had the same issue.
But we had something going on before. Try that gradient again.
That's weird because I just tried on my dev site locally.
Perfect. See?
But it's not the gradient. This is the gradient, but the second color is not working. Well, let me see if I need a location. Wait, something's going on. There we go. There we go.
So you have the gradient working, but the raw color isn't working. If you just want to make it one color and all you could do is get the gradient, all you need to do is turn off that red. Turn off that red, right?
Well, let's see. Let me see if I turn off that red. No,
Yeah, we'll turn it up to make it the green then.
Maybe so. Maybe that's
Let's find out whatever that green is. Here you go.
Very good. Not the
Work
way
around
it should work. It should work,
Oh.
but it is definitely a way to make it work.
There's a workaround, yeah. Mhm.
There's a workaround. Good. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Okay, now I'm going to take a peek into layout. I'm going to, let me just get rid of this green if you guys don't mind, because I don't want to look at it. It's a little tough on the eyes, so I'm just going to clear it. That's my little clear reverse there. Okay, just a quick look here in layout. Here you can set your content width, and which is cool, but I'm not going to go any more into that. Lightbox, there's a lot of different options in there, so go and check it out. Page transition, same thing. I don't use that. And here's your custom CSS. So anything that you put in here should style whatever you have it styling throughout the website. All right, so we've covered quite a bit. And does anybody have any questions, especially some of the folks who are just getting into Elementor? Are there any questions that you have? Anything you want me to just do again, or?
You were truly amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. As long as you know, we're able to pick it up, and I know I talk a lot, so.
No, you did great. You explained things very nicely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks to hear. That's nice to hear. All right, now, for those of you like me who have a test site, and you've gone in here and you fiddled around just as I have, but you don't want these settings, and you want to get back to the defaults. And Richard, you had asked about default colors, and maybe this will, help you when we come back full circle. We're going to get rid of everything in there. So this is how you do it. We are going to go to Elementor, down to the templates, go into your saved templates. Okay. And we're going to look for the default kit. Now, the default kit is not shown, so you have to go over to search templates. All right. That's what we want to find. And here it is. We are going to trash this. I know, don't get worried. Yes, I want to delete it. All right. So as soon as you do that, what you need to do now is go over to Elementor Tools. If you want, I could go back and show you that basically there's nothing there. Take my word for it. So I don't. Where did we go? We're going back to Elementor Tools. Okay. Now, because we deleted the other default kit, we now have this option to recreate the kit, and I'm going to do that. If you did not delete it, this recreate kit option would not be there. Don't forget to save. And as you see, it's gone. Now, when you go back, and I'll show you all pages. Let's go to my page here. All those settings, the drop shadow on the images and the border and all of those fonts, the send buttons, everything has gone back to the default. And if we go over to Site Settings panel, here are our Elementor default colors. And we could probably see the same thing over here for the fonts. If you go back to typography, everything is empty. So you're starting out fresh. Any questions about that? Okay. So that ends my site settings presentation tonight.
Oh, in that case, I have a general question.
Yes.
So you finished off the presentation with how to clear out the settings. Though, is there a way a plugin such as WooCommerce adds settings so we can create those site level settings for those third-party plugins, again, such as WooCommerce?
So are you asking if the WooCommerce plugin, if you use that to style your fonts and colors, etc.?
Yeah, essentially, would a plugin such as, again, WooCommerce, because it's the big one, so it's an easy one to pick on always, would it add some site settings here to add some defaults?
I don't think so.
Or it would not?
No,
Okay.
because this is what you see over here are your theme. This is your theme settings, your theme default settings.
It would add some widgets and things though, Peter. You would get other things in Elementor with it, but I don't think, I'd have to check one of my sites, but I don't think it changes this personally.
And I would say be careful too if you do delete that. Because my thinking is this is you're customizing your theme settings. Does Woo customize your theme settings, or they've got their own settings? I don't know. I think it's a good question. I don't know. I'd be careful.
For us, usually, if we're adding WooCommerce into a site, any code we put goes into the child theme code. So for me, any styling for WooCommerce is theme level styling. Thus, I was wondering if WooCommerce would add anything here. If not, that's fine. I was just curious.
It's a good question. Yeah,
I'm going to pull up one of my sites and see if there's anything different. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to share it, but I'll just be able to go look at least.
Yeah, that's a good question.
No, it looks the same to me.
Nothing, no Woo widgets or.
Oh, there is something in the. Oh, the only thing that it adds is in here, in this area here. It adds a way to choose your WooCommerce pages, but that's something that you would get in the WooCommerce settings anyway. And the WordPress dashboard, it's basically allows you to choose what page is going to be the cart, what page is going to be checkout, what page is going to be my account. Like when you build the page, you can choose what page WooCommerce relates to those, there's just a menu option for that there to do that. That's the only thing I see.
No WooCommerce styling settings here. Well, that's all right. Well,
if you do test that, let us know, Peter. I mean, don't do it on a live site, of course, but that would be interesting to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, everything looks the same. I was thinking maybe there was something for like products or something like that, but I don't see anything.
Oh, well, now we know at least.
Or maybe. Maybe we know.
Yeah.
Right.
Who else has questions? Or anything even not related to this, if nobody has any questions on this topic.
I guess another quick question about general settings. The way we usually do code is, as you can imagine, me being a nerd, we custom code everything, at least where we can. So if there's, for example, a button style, we create a button alt style, button ghost, et cetera, et cetera. I'm guessing I can't do that through here. So if we were to, for example, customize buttons, I can't create multiple button styles and have them auto apply. Or I would just create this.
You can do global widgets. If you
that, yeah, we know. I
okay,
was hoping we could create like a. This is a button, obviously, but these other buttons should be the button alt style, something like that.
Oh, interesting. Could you do that in the custom CSS?
Yes.
Yeah, we can
Field?
do anything in custom.
Yeah, that's where you do it at right now, but you can't do it in these little cool little clicks like you're showing. No, Peter, you can't.
Bummer. That'd be really cool if you could.
It really would be cool. I've thought about that same question, but I've tried a million times. You can't do it.
hey, suggest it. Elementor is always open to suggestions.
Yeah, maybe I'll go into the forum and actually ask the question and see if anybody tries to answer it, and then say, hey, what about like we do this? You know,
I would probably put in their GitHub if you remember on there.
Oh yeah, I am. I'm a member in there.
Yeah, I put it
Or
there.
if somebody wants
That's
a
how
business
you.
opportunity, you can create a plugin for like $10 and sell it to add this functionality.
Right.
There you go. Yep, there's plenty of Elementor add-on plugins out there, so it wouldn't be not normal. Ultimate add-ons, essential add-ons.
I actually have an idea for a plugin already, so I'm already kind of mapping it out, but we'll see.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah. Well, you know, like all these tracking codes and all this crap, you know, you can say there's ways to get them in there, but there really isn't an easy way that just like makes it super simple. So not even a monkey could screw it up. You know what I mean? Like
what do you mean, like the Google Analytics and all that?
Like you want to put your analytics in, or maybe you want to put your Facebook pixel in. Maybe you want to put your Snapchat pixel in. Maybe you want to do your TikTok pixel. Maybe you want, you know.
Have you tried the custom code?
Oh yeah, and Google Tag Manager and all that good stuff. Yeah, but the problem is
and the dashboard there, Elementor has something where you can put code in the header.
Absolutely, that's how I do it. But the problem, of course, is that you wonder, like, okay, so it doesn't really, you know, like if you go to Facebook and you look at their most latest, or at least what was in last October's directions on how to install. First off, it was all convoluted because I don't even think they knew what they were talking about for a minute. And then it doesn't really fit like that particular thing, because they say, put this in here and then put this above this and then that below this. And I'm like, wait a minute, does that really work right there? And so I'm saying, how about if we just had a plugin that would satisfy all the stuff, right? And it would just say, like, it could ask a series of questions. It would be like sort of like Termageddon, right? So you go into
what about Pixel Your Site? It's a plugin that handles a lot of these things.
I haven't tried it. I haven't heard of it, so I'm going to go try it right now.
Is it Pixel? Well, let me get you the proper name so you can check it out. Pixel.
So it just kind of allows you to put all of your codes in one spot.
Pixelyoursite.com.
Yeah, good stuff. Different than Google Tag Manager. Yeah.
Cool.
Pixelyoursite.com. That's awesome. But I mean, I might not need it if this one works.
Or you can make an alternative and be a competitor.
Well, that's also. I mean,
Come on, have the entrepreneurial spirit.
I'm a red, white, and blue born and bred, baby. So you already know I'm thinking about that. I didn't even worry about that. So I'm like, yeah, I got you there. But see, what is this? This costs money. Yeah, this costs money.
Pixel Your Site features.
I mean, the professionals, so like you got to buy it.
Want your screen sharing back? I'm going to stop sharing, Mike, if you want it back.
Oh, that's okay. You can stop sharing if you want, though. Unless anybody has any other.
Oh my
questions.
gosh, this is so. Check this out.